So, what if our whole purpose as a species isn't to arrive at some final destination, but just to be a transition? We're going to dive into a really powerful parable that poses that exact question. It's all about something called the unfinished arch, and it gives us this incredibly stark choice. Are we the finished product, the final destination, or are we just the bridge?
You mistake the tension of the bow for the rest of the sleep. Wow, this is the line that really kicks the whole thing off, spoken by the story's main character, Zarathustra. And it's a fierce accusation, isn't it? He's basically saying that what we call peace, what we call comfort, might actually just be your refusal to act. It's like a bow that's been pulled tight, full of potential, but it's never actually fired. So let's unpack what he really means by that.
So, our story starts in a city. But this isn't just any city. Picture this, it's built right on the very edge of a massive, terrifying cliff. It's a powerful symbol, right? A society that has literally decided its journey is over. They've gone as far as they're going to go.
And get this, the people here actually call their city finality. I mean, that pretty much says it all, doesn't it? Their entire lives are just dedicated to comfort and security. Polishing the stones on the street, making their cushions extra soft, building thick walls. They genuinely believe they've done it. They've arrived. They think they are completely safe from what they call the great indifference of the universe out there.
And then he shows up. Zarathustra. And he doesn't care about their polished streets or their thick, safe walls. Nope. He just ignores their entire world and points directly at the one thing they've all spent their lives trying to forget, that huge, empty abyss right at their feet. And he gives it a name, too. He calls it the nihilist's void. Okay, so right away, Zarathustra sees this place isn't healthy. He diagnoses a deep sickness running through the city, a problem he calls the poison of contentment. And really, it's a direct attack on their entire way of life. And he has a name for them, too. He calls them the last men. Now, this is a really, really important idea. The last man isn't supposed to be evil or anything like that. He's just, well, he's finished. His only desires are for comfort, for safety, for an end to any kind of danger or struggle. He's basically achieved the perfect, convenient life. And he's convinced that this is it. This is the peak. This is the crown of creation. And this is really the heart of the conflict right here. The people of finality look at themselves and they think, we're the finished floor of history. We're done. But Zarathustra looks at the exact same situation and sees something totally different. He doesn't see an achievement. He sees a slow-acting poison, a universal contentment that's just quietly choking off any possibility for real meaning or growth. So, if being the floor is just a poisoned existence, then what's the alternative, right? Well, this is where Zarathustra offers up his own radical, completely different vision for what humanity could be. Zarathustra points across that massive void to a new destination, a new kind of human he calls the Overman. But this immediately raises a pretty terrifying question, doesn't it? How on earth are you supposed to cross a bottomless abyss? And his answer is just explosive. He thunders, man is not a goal. We aren't the finished product. In his view, our entire reason for being is to be a transition. We are a rope stretched over a chasm, a bridge to the other side, an arrow shot towards a target we might never see. He uses the metaphor of an arch to explain this, and it's brilliant. Just think about it for a second. A single stone, what does it want? It just wants to lie flat and safe on the ground. That's its natural state. But to be part of an arch, something beautiful and strong that spans a huge gap, that same stone has to lean out over the abyss. It has to suffer this terrible, constant tension from gravity. And here's the kicker. If just one of those stones decides, you know what, I'd rather be comfortable, the entire arch just collapses. Now, this is a beautiful idea, but it's also a terrifying one, because what it means is that greatness, the act of actually building that span over the void, comes at an incredibly high price. It means you have to embrace the very thing you're most afraid of. See, you can't just stand there and look at the void from behind your safe city walls. No, Zarathustra demands that you become the arrow of longing, that you literally launch yourself into that emptiness. And this isn't some act of self-destruction. He says it's the ultimate act of creation. And this might be his most difficult message of all. He says your highest purpose has nothing to do with your own happiness or comfort.
It's what he calls your downgoing, your total acceptance of the fact that you are a stepping stone, a necessary transition for something greater that will come after you. To even consider this, you need a whole new mindset. Zarathustra calls it amor fati, which means a love of one's fate. It doesn't just mean putting up with the struggle and the tension, it means you have to love it. You have to love the very thing that might break you, because you understand that that tension is the only thing that can possibly span the abyss. So you can imagine, how do the people of Finality react when they hear this incredibly demanding vision? Well, this brings us to the climax of the whole parable. And honestly, their reaction is completely understandable. They hear all this talk about tension and being a stepping stone, and they hear it as a threat. They start muttering to each other. He talks about being architects, but what he really wants is for us to be the rubble, just the disposable material for his grand project. But Zarathustra's reply is like a clap of thunder. Nay, he says, it's a complete correction of their misunderstanding. He isn't asking them to just be passive material. He's asking them to be both things at the same time, to be the visionary architects who have the shocking realization that the only building material they have is themselves. And there it is. That's the whole idea in a nutshell. You have to build the bridge out of yourselves. The project isn't something out there, it's you. And in that moment of acceptance, it's not a sacrifice, it's a total transformation. When a person truly embraces their role as part of that support, they stop being just a stone. They become the bridge. And in that moment, the bridge becomes lightning, a sudden, brilliant flash of pure meaning across that dark, empty void. But the story doesn't end there. The parable tells us that the people, they made their choice. And in the end, the dangerous glory of becoming that bridge, it was just too much to ask. They turned their backs on Zarathustra, on the void, and they went back to polishing their streets, back to the comfortable apathy of their finished city. And that, of course, is where the parable turns the mirror on us. It was never really about them, was it? It's about us. The people of Finality chose comfort over purpose. So the only question left is, what will you choose? So that's the final choice the parable leaves hanging in the air. The path of the stone, to stay put, polish the streets of Finality, and find your safety in the world as it is. Or the path of the arrow, to fly onward, probably alone, into the unknown, towards what could be, a comfortable ending or a dangerous beginning. The choice is yours.